Sometimes our teams enter into uncharted territories, places that we've never been before. This isn't a bad thing. Whether it's Amazon entering into the grocery industry, or Disney bringing superheroes into their family, or Anheuser-Busch entering into the Prohibition age. Or it could be von Humboldt charting the topography of the Andes. Great teams perform in uncharted territories. And this reminds me of a trip that I took to an uncharted territory last year in Rovaniemi, Finland. Finland is a beautiful place with reindeer, igloos, ice castles, the ability to mush, and I was able to do all of this. But my biggest feat by far was the challenge that I took on to do a cross-country ski marathon in the Arctic Circle. Now that was a lot to say, so let me say it again. It was a cross-country skiing half marathon in the Arctic Circle. See, now this would have been a challenge for most people, but for me, I had a challenge that was a little bit different than the other racers that day. See, I actually had never really cross-country skied, but I figured I had about 20 kilometers to figure it out. Truth is, if we want to stay relevant in our organization, we have to be willing to enter uncharted territory. We have to be willing to recognize the opportunities that come as new ventures. Now, don't foolishly rush into every new land, but also don't be tardy. Recognize that there is a true, real sense of urgency in our action. And for me, it was the fact that I had the opportunity to go to Finland for work, and I didn't know when that next opportunity to return would be. And so this was my time. It was go time. Urgency in your team can come in a myriad of ways. For some teams, it's an outsider coming to a team. For others, it's a crisis. For some, it's the rapid change in the economy and the market. For others, it's simply a leader setting an example of urgency. In your team, it could be as simple as setting a deadline and sticking to it. So often, teams can become crippled in the unknown. And they plan 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 until they reach the ultimate paralysis by analysis. But indecision and lack of action prohibit teams from performing at their highest level. When you are in uncharted territory, recognize what you have in your favor. Yes, I had never cross-country skied before, but I had ran cross-country and skied. I had a lot going in my favor. My mom's family lives in Colorado, and I grew up downhill skiing. I was also a Division I cross-country runner, and I could inline skate. I figured that all of these things have similarities to cross-country skiing, and I could figure it out. Again, I had about 20 kilometers to figure it out. So I trained in the not-so-mountainous area of Oklahoma, running and skating, and I figured that the rest would just come into place. It was my very own Cool Runnings experience. So in your team, identify what your team is doing well now that you can build upon. Identify what you have going on in your favor. Recognize that any risk failure, but it also risks success. Acknowledge that failure is probably going to happen, no matter how prepared you are. So it's better to just fail and fail fast. I showed up to the race, rented a pair of skis, and then I ran into my first obstacle. Cross-country skis are different than downhill skis, and I didn't even know how to put my skis on. This was off to an interesting start. After awkwardly fidgeting and trying to fit in, I finally asked someone to help me put my skis on. And as soon as my boots were attached, I immediately felt off balance and uncomfortable. I really wasn't sure how to move in them, and they were definitely not downhill skis. I approached the starting line, and I saw Santa Claus there to wish us luck and fire off the starting gun. This was the Arctic Circle and the official home of the big man, so I smiled, and then I began my journey by falling over the starting line. That's right, I fell over the starting line. That's gotta be world record failure. But I failed, and I failed fast, and I learned, and I adjusted, And I only fell 2 more times the entire 20K. Let your team know that it's going to be okay. You're going to fail, so it's better to just take action, fail fast, and learn. Now, many leaders I hear will comfort their team by saying it's okay, we didn't lose, we learned. Well, this statement doesn't stand on its own. We need to ask a very critical follow-up question. Whenever your team fails, and that's right, when I said when they fail, you need to ask, well, what did we learn? How can we make adjustments? And how can we be better from this experience? So fail fast, and then make adjustments. After I fell over the starting line, I spent my first 2 to 3 kilometers stopping and readjusting my approach and my method of movement. I was constantly learning and failing and adjusting, and it was these adjustments that led me to complete my goal to be like the nationality of the land and finish. So, take the time to acknowledge that you're going to fail. Might as well fail fast, learn, and then move on. Also, take it slow if you need. We are in a rapidly changing world, and there's an immense pressure to move at a very quick pace. But it's so much better to move intentionally and strategically in the right direction than sprinting down the wrong path and then having to backtrack later. I could have tried to sprint on my skis, but I probably would have fallen a whole lot more and not really finished any faster. Find the balance. Make a plan and take action. And then I don't care if you're moving slower than a snail caught in molasses. Move. After the 3rd kilometer, I really hit my stride. I realized which movements from running, skating, and skiing could all be combined for a stealthy dynamic. I only fell 2 more times the rest of the 20 kilometers. And by the end, I certainly wasn't a professional, but I was decently proficient. A few days later, I went again with a few of the locals, and I could keep up at a respectable pace. Today, I consider myself a pretty decent cross-country skier, as exemplified by my racing bib and my finisher medal. So prepare for when opportunity arises. Make a plan and prepare where you are. Even if you're in the hot Great Plains of Oklahoma, preparing for a cross-country ski race in the Arctic Circle, make a plan. Prepare your team the best way that you can. Many speak of leading where you are. Why not prepare where you are? That way, when the opportunity arises, you can take action. You don't have to have it all planned out, but here's what I want you to do. Build a foundation, build an expectation, and then you have at least 20 kilometers to figure out the rest.